Have you ever wondered how to start a presentation or a training session or just any session that requires you to present? Welcome to this first episode of Amazing Sticky Presentation inspired by Sticky Spy, bringing you tips, ideas and design for better presentation, turning your ideas into lasting impressions. Hi there, I'm Tiantek with Sticky Spy. I teach visual communication, slide design, and presentations. And I help individuals and organizations explore ways to design better presentations. In this video, I want to talk about how I usually start the presentation in my training sessions. I will share with you an excerpt from my recent workshop that I conducted via Zoom meeting, and also explain why I use this technique. Every presentation session, may it be a meeting, a training, or a discussion, has a structure. To make things simple, the general structure of any presentation session is the start, content, and the end. The start of a presentation is an important part of the training session. It's a good way to let the audience know what to expect in the session. In the case of a training, then it would be good to let the students or participants know what to expect in the training. When it's done properly, it grabs the audience attention and makes them want to stay for the rest of the session. There are many ways to start. You can choose to start with a story that will then lead into the content of your session. You can start by telling a joke if you are good at it and can really pull that off. For me, I usually like to start with a fact or an observation that links to the topic of my workshop. I teach presentation, so I started by sharing a fact, statistic, pain point related to presentation in general. If your training is about how to grow hydroponic vegetables, then you might start by sharing facts about the health benefit of consuming hydroponic growth, a related story, or something interesting along growing vegetable the hydroponic way. Let's now take a look at an excerpt from my recent workshop. More than 80% of presentations today are quite frustrating. Frustrating because many times when we listen to the speaker talk about certain topics, certain information, the slide that they show is very cluttered. A lot of information, texts are very small, a lot of numbers. And that's why when we try to follow and decide where is it on the slide that he's talking about, we can't actually see it because it's too messy, too cluttered. And that's why 80% of the presentation today that you see are quite frustrated. And because of that, many people will fall asleep. So you get into the situation like that, especially in a large conference, you would see that, wow, many people doze off because maybe it's quite boring. Maybe many of them do not understand what the speaker is talking about. In the video, I started by sharing the fact that 80% of presentations are frustrating. I then explained why and moved on to discuss the effect of frustrated audience. If you are still here watching this video, go on and give it a like below. And remember also to subscribe to this channel for future videos. As you saw in the video, I continued by sharing with the class another related fact. This time is the percentage of people that admitted falling asleep during a presentation. By sharing the second fact, I led my workshop participants to think about the times during presentation or training sessions of their own. Questions that might linger in their minds could be, how do I keep the audience awake for a 90 minutes presentation? Or how do I keep the audience awake for a full day training session? You want your audience to be curious, thus looking forward to what you are going to share next. Of course, every fact that you decide to share in the start of your session should be relevant to the session content. Do not share facts that are totally unrelated, as this will be confusing. Let's continue with the next part of my video. So the whole idea about presenting or showing information on slide is that as you present, you want to wow your audience. You want to create the wow so that your audience will be interested to follow you through the presentation. But then how do you actually wow the audience itself? Right? And so that's what we're going to do today. There are many ways to do that, and we are going to explore some of the ways that we can actually engage the audience, wow the audience. At the end of the day, you choose which method you want to use, right? Which method, and depending on how well you know your audience, how well you know your information. Here, I move to briefly suggest that keeping the audience excited during a presentation is critical to a successful session. I continue by mentioning what to expect for the next 2 days of the training that they are in. So in the video, I did 3 things that helped me start my training session and keep my trainees interested in staying and learning with me. First, I shared a fact that illustrates a common pain point that almost everyone had encountered before. Next, I discussed the effect or the outcome resulted from the pain point. And lastly, I talked about what can be done to overcome the pain point, and that I will teach them how to do it if they stick with me for the next 2 days of my workshop. If there are many parts in your presentation, for example, if you are presenting in a day-long training session, you might want to get into the specific of the agenda. Otherwise, you should keep the start of your session short and sweet. This is how I usually start the presentation in my training session. You might have developed your own style and have a different idea on how you would start your presentation. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to read about how you start your presentation. In my next video, I will talk about how I organize the content of my workshops. So stay tuned and remember to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell so that you'll be notified when I upload my next video. See you again soon. Bye bye.